Hey, Eric, all this fat loot is breaking my game.
This week, we talk about managing the massive piles of gold your characters have accumulated.
That's how we roll. 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 That's how we roll.
Welcome to the Goblin's Corner. My name is Eric.
And my name's Matt.
And tonight,
We're talking about managing character wealth.
that's right. Again, Matt has scoured the internet to find some things which irritate other people DMing, and apparently there is some much to do about either giving too much gold or not enough gold or breaking the economy of a game. And so tonight we're going to teach you how to manage your character's wealth.
Right.
More specifically, your party of characters and all of the shenanigans they're going to get into.
Yes, because from their perspective, they're never going to have enough gold. And from yours, they're probably always going to have a little too much.
Yes, that's 100% correct. So if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Help us get our show out to more people and get notified when more amazing episodes come your way.
And hey, if you're listening to the show, give us a review on iTunes or Podchaser.
Yeah, we might get one of those little gold things that YouTube gives for people subscribing.
Yeah, that'd be great. We should probably get a silver one first.
Let's just get monetized first.
Sure, that would be good. We're gonna buy one of those things from Alibaba.
Yes, absolutely. We should totally do that. That would be hilarious. So let's just dive into the mix. Managing character wealth can be tricky.
Sure.
It is. It's tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to consider. What are some of these things?
So in my great exploration of the internet, DMs bitch all of the time that after a certain level, pick a level, it doesn't matter, characters have too much money.
And they just don't know what to do with all of that cash. And they're just sitting on all these piles of gold doing nothing with it.
Sure.
And the characters are unhappy as well.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, most characters bitch they have too little money.
Absolutely.
Particularly spellcasters.
Always.
Always.
Particularly wizards.
Yes. When you have to buy all of those scrolls to put into your book.
Yeah. And ink and paper. And,
Absolutely.
DMs often find that at some point, wealth breaks their economy and sometimes their story.
And this is just something that happens, honestly, in a power campaign anyway. They get
Sure.
to a certain level. When you get teleport, all of a sudden, traveling becomes less of a deal, story-wise, and more of just a cut-to scene.
Realistically, your players could take a week off and become a traveling merchant, grab the most expensive spices one place, teleport to the other side of the world,
And break your economy.
and break the economy.
Very simply. And this isn't even talking about magic items.
Yes.
Or Magic Mart, as we like to call it. Because at some point, you're going to get into a Magic Mart situation. What do we mean by we say Magic Mart, Matt?
Either players wanting to be able to buy whatever, or them having a bunch of stuff that they can't use and having, to some extent,
Sell it off.
to sell it off, which
Yeah.
is going to give them huge amounts of money.
These are all great topics to consider.
Mhm.
And we've scoured the internet for answers, which most people don't have many answers of. But luckily, we do.
We've been doing this a
Yeah.
while.
So how can you manage wealth in a story, Matt?
Most, if not all, monetary systems in RPGs are broken already.
Yes.
Like D&D is a great example. It was pretty much an afterthought. Oh, 10 copper is a silver, 10 silver is a gold. We make it easy. That's the math on it.
And if you don't believe us, just take a look at the rate of hirelings versus, say, something you get as an adventurer.
As a first level adventurer, you could kill 3 goblins and make a year's worth of wages for a hireling. That is mathematically possible.
Yeah. And again, it's common enough that people laugh about it as a trope in comics and stuff like that.
Sure.
I think Order of the Stick had something about it at some point, where when the adventurers come to town, all of the commoners jack the prices up 100% because
yeah.
they all have the gold.
There are a few techniques that you can use to try and take care of this.
I would say there are 4 techniques to mitigate the situation of just having too much money, overblowing the stuff. The first one is obviously just don't worry about it.
Yeah. If it breaks, it breaks.
Yeah, if it breaks your economy, cool. What do you got to worry about? Remember, this is a game. It doesn't have to be realistic. You're playing with fake magic, or if you're playing Shadowrun or something like that, you're playing with fake science.
Yeah. You're playing with fake money and fake economies.
Yeah. And it's true. A lot of it is done as an afterthought. You want to know why? Most game designers aren't economists.
Yeah.
They don't care. Here's some gold. It's how much is it? It's this much. And that's fine. It's totally cool. Now you could also do what?
You can just dole out less money, and we're going to get to that.
Yep. You could also fix the spending economy. Good luck with that. And then
you can give players stuff to buy
mm-hmm.
and provide rewards other than money.
We recommend this approach. Now, all of these approaches are usable. You can do all of the following. In fact, sometimes we do all of the following.
Yep.
But generally, we lean towards giving them other stuff to buy or using things other than money to purchase things.
Yep.
Let's talk about these solutions. First off, not worrying. That's the simplest. It is, as we mentioned, a game.
Yeah.
That's it. Very simple to do, right?
Yep. It doesn't matter that Wall of Salt should absolutely break every economy on the planet. So what? So what? The numbers are the numbers. It doesn't matter whether or not it makes sense.
And I would say 50% of the DMs out here that's listening to us probably go, yeah, it's cool. It's just a game. I don't care. I don't have the time to rebuild the economy in a game. I don't care if they've got 1 million gold and they buy everything in existence.
I'm not going to take a sliding rule of like how much salt is worth now or how much it would be worth after they import 1,000 pounds. No, it's still worth the same. It doesn't matter.
DMs and GMs, this is not for you. For the rest of you, the other 50% that do have a problem with that, let's talk about the other solutions. First off, doling out less money.
It's fine if it's a survival campaign.
Mm-hmm, which we've done a whole episode on.
Right. But usually it's going to feel like you're punishing the players for something.
Yeah, this tends to make players think that you're an asshole as a DM or a GM when you're not giving them what they consider to be rewards for killing monsters or doing, good deeds and stuff like that in a campaign. Additionally, I've also seen a lot of storytellers do this with magic items, where a lot of high-level magic items will break the economy or just break the game in general. And it's just because they haven't creatively thought of the solutions. Matt's smiling as I'm saying this because Matt and I are the same.
Yeah, you know exactly what my stance on that is. You can check it out on Hot Takes.
Yeah, we're fine with giving out as much magic because, there's just this, we can escalate. That's easy.
Yeah.
You've got 50 million gold pieces worth of magic items. That's cool. So does the big bad evil guy.
If that's what the economy is, that's what the economy is.
It is what it is, right? Players want to be heroes, and heroes, particularly in fantasy games, but also in any game, want to make a big score.
Yeah. If you're playing a heist game and you walk away with $800, you're gonna be upset.
You're gonna be pissed. They want that fat loot, right? It's part of the fun in doing this.
Yep. One of the things you can do is make less of an emphasis on money and more on barter, rare goods, monster parts, and magic. The game I'm running right now is strongly dependent on things.
Oh yeah, in the jungle?
Yeah.
You have a person of certain skills. They are a person of certain skills. Oh, barter system works, right? This, by the way, is a great way to balance a game without taking anything away. Okay, you just found a dragon's hoard full of money. That's not very useful in the jungle.
Right.
When they don't care about that gold. It's like, cool, it's money. When you find a merchant that you can buy some stuff with, congratulations, you can spend that.
Right. However, every piece of that dragon is both useful and rare.
The dragon is worth more than the gold that it sat on.
100%.
Sure. This provides power to the PCs to use their special gifts for killing monsters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or also provides a way for what?
It provides a way for NPCs to have value as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to have your magic axe enchanted and this person they're not an offensive wizard. They're like, oh, if you want this enchanted, I'm going to need this object to enchant it and this object as payment. Run, get it.
Now sally forth and go do that.
Exactly. Do you want it enchanted or don't you?
This is going to be another 3 episode of my life before I can go back and get the thing that I want. But that's how it works, right? You can also make various money only available or worth something in a particular location.
Yep.
A great example of this is if you have a world that has multiple kingdoms. Your money's not good here.
A great example of this is the real world.
Yeah.
Where anytime you go to a money changer, you lose a percentage of your wealth so that you can spend what's left in the new place that you're at.
No offense to my brothers from Canada, but I can't buy a cheeseburger with Canadian coin here. Right, we live in the U.S.
It's true.
In fact, you sometimes can't buy a cheeseburger with American coin. They oftentimes won't even take cash these days.
Right.
So that's an easy way to fix the economy in terms of just doling less stuff out, right? Just de-emphasize the use of money.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you play with like monster harvesting, which we do,
Very much so.
that's a real easy way to get paid with stuff. Plus, you can make some really cool stuff out of monsters.
Right. Do you want a shield or do you want
A beholder shield.
right, a Manicore skull shield?
Yeah.
Right?
The head of a Medusa on a shield that turns their enemies to stone.
All right, Perseus, calm down.
Yeah, well, by the gods. Let's talk a little bit about fixing the game's spending economy.
Now, this is fine to do, but I am not an economist.
Nor am I.
And it would take a lot of work. And I'm sure there are people who are willing to do it, and more power to those
I guarantee you there's someone who has written some third-party supplements that have already done this. And that's cool. I don't have the time to do that. I don't really have the head for that type of figures because there's a lot of different moving parts. Here's a good example. The first one is overcoming how to fix how much to charge for like standard goods and services.
Sure.
We know that a barrel may not be the same. Like everything in D&D is like a gold, right?
Right.
It's usually based off of gold. A spyglass, I think, is what, like 100 gold or something ridiculous like that?
Actually,
It's 1,000 gold?
it's I think 150, but using your idea on that, literally instead of it taking weeks to bevel down that glass, a wizard with Fabricate could make
Knock
those
out like
lenses
10 or 15 lenses in an afternoon.
right. So it still stands, right? Like one guy who decided to make money with magic just would.
He just, yeah.
He'd just be a multi-bazillionaire.
Now everybody has a spyglass.
Yeah.
The Wizard of Amazon. Speaking of magic, magic items are particularly tricky, as you mentioned, because the price on something that can grow an entire field of wheat or corn versus something that can slay a monster. Like, what do you value in that society? We're going to talk about societies here because for an adventurer, slaying the monster is very important.
Right.
For 99% of the populace in the story, that monster slaying sword, they don't give a about.
Right.
They want the crop growing farm equipment.
Imagine a farmer with a twice a day unseen servant.
That's a happy farmer.
That's a great deal of your work just handled.
A druid rolling through with plant growth. There you go.
Yep. Double the production for the year.
Also, poisons are broken in D&D.
Yes.
They're just broken. Alchemical items are also broken too, in terms of like price. Like, really, it's that much money for this poison? I can go find a monster, drain it dry, and have poison. Should
Right.
I be able to sell it for that much? Maybe. Who knows, right?
Monetary systems change over time, and powerful individuals will definitely affect the world's economy.
What we mean is the PCs being powerful individuals or the BBEG being a powerful individual.
Sure.
And you as a DM need to keep track of all of that. And we got a couple of examples. So if a bushel of wheat is 1 silver piece, again, we're making this up because I didn't look it up.
Sure.
What happens if a magical battle destroys the surrounding countryside?
Take a quick trip to Game of Thrones where they're talking about what happens to the price of food
Mm-hmm.
in a starving economy, right? Everything goes through the roof.
Do you want to be the storyteller that has to deal with that? Maybe, maybe not.
I've played in that game. I actually really enjoyed it, but it is not for everyone. It's a lot of moving parts to keep track of.
Yep.
Food is however much it costs.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when the local druid casts plant growth? Now, everyone has a turnip.
Yeah. So does that mean the price of turnips goes down? Maybe.
Or you ship exactly as much as you normally ship and you turn the rest of it into booze.
Oh, that's a good idea. A necromancer gives you free labor via the dead. How will this affect the prices if everyone's got a free undead servant? or a bunch of undead turning water wheels, generating power.
Sure.
That could be handy. Or even just turning a wheel to mill.
Yep. That's what I was just thinking.
Everybody's got ground flour now. The last baker died, and they animated his corpse, and he just toils forever in the wheel. Grinding stuff. You know what?
Sure.
Good on them.
Yeah.
That's a happy necromancer right there.
Do what you need to do.
He's probably the best guy in town. They buy him drinks all the time. They're like, hey, when I die, stick me in the wheel.
Sure.
Benefits society, right?
Yep.
That's a good necromancer.
Absolutely.
Of course, he also animates other things too on the side,
look,
but hey.
Details.
You know? So we recommend a couple of things in this scenario. The first is what?
Just ad-lib whatever you can and keep track of the consequences of actions.
Yes. It's going to be a lot of note-taking, a lot of bookkeeping and stuff like that. I would just say ad-lib the general stuff.
Yeah.
Any of the major points. Everything. Like, you don't need to worry that they blasted a field and it's going to affect that village's prices of corn. Don't worry about that.
If your players blast every field that they come across.
That's a major event.
Right.
Deal with that. Don't worry about the small stuff.
If they're like, we love popcorn, so the mage just fireballs every cornfield, then yes, absolutely.
There's
consequences for those actions.
Yeah, there's a fire sale on corn.
Indeed.
Look at the third-party stuff, overspending all of that time to fix things. There's a lot of third-party material.
Indeed. And there's one that we use every game all the time. And that's the sane magic item prices.
PDF.
PDF, yeah.
And I'm sure that there's one for the standard economy as well. I haven't found a good one. One I would also recommend is go look at previous editions of D&D, like second and third, kind of had a little bit more balanced economy, not by much.
Slightly. Yeah.
But it is better. There's a lot of things in second edition and third edition also that I like the third edition to have. So, for example, stronghold builders, where you want to buy out all the different things for like the magical rooms and stuff like that. You can adapt that to fifth edition. If you're playing a different game like Pathfinder, or you're playing something completely different like Shadowrun or something like that, there's third-party people that have created stuff for that as well.
Sure, but you can also adapt the concepts the same way.
To any game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this type of wealth is easily managed. Speaking of other things that are wealth-related, we've got what?
The question of the week.
All right. What's your question of the week this week, Matt?
Your fame and wealth has created the expectation that you will found a legacy institution, right? A school, a music shop, whatever, right? What would you found in a fantasy setting?
I would found a magical research library.
Nice.
I will have died, and my body will have been cremated and placed into a gremlin-like urn.
Okay.
Or a gargoyle-style urn.
Sure.
And my undead spirit will guard the entire library.
Just undead librarian?
Yes.
Don't break the spines of the books!
You better not break the spines of the books, or you shall suffer the consequences. They will set my urn on one of the bookshelves, probably the biggest one.
I think they should set you on the card catalog.
Oh, yes. I'll be on the card catalog, and people will, where's this book? It's right here. And my undead spirit will guard the library. And every month they must add a book to the library, or they shall be punished. And the library shall grow. Over time, the largest library in the realms.
I love it.
Yeah. And you better not break the spine on my books.
I'm super aware. I've met you.
I'm very, very particular about my books. What about you, Matt? What would you found?
I would found a charitable public house. So food and drinks, and people from the community can just come in, have a beer, grab a good bite to eat. It will allow everybody in the community to gather without having to worry about whether or not they can afford it or whether or not they're going to need to pay for somebody else. It's just there so that people can get together and discuss things.
Hang out.
Yep.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
They're always glad you came.
Absolutely. It is not going to be called Cheers.
But it would be funny if it was. Of course, we're always interested in your answers to the question of the week. And if you have one, hit us up at Goblin's Corner on all the various socials. And of course, you can also do what, Matt?
You can always comment down below. That is what it's for.
That's right. So we're talking about managing character wealth. And we mentioned a couple of strategies that people have. One, you could just leave it alone.
Sure.
Two, you could try to take away or mitigate some of the wealth that they accumulate. 3, you could fix the economy.
Sure.
Good luck with that, as we mentioned.
I'm not the guy for that.
Yeah, I'm not, neither am I. And then the one we recommend, which is what?
Giving people things to spend money on, or just barter trade, finding multiple avenues of wealth.
Yeah. So come up with for people to spend money on. Come up with stuff that does not directly affect the power level of the game.
Yes.
And you might be thinking, but Eric, Matt, that's really hard. It's okay. We've got examples, a lot of examples.
And some of them aren't that hard.
Yeah.
So we have a list of things that can all be rewards instead of cash,
Mm-hmm.
or things that you can use your cash on.
Yes. So these are things that the characters can buy if they've got a lot of wealth. If they don't have a lot of wealth, these are rewards to give them at the end of a quest.
Eric and I colloquially refer to these as money sinks.
Yes. We've got a bunch of different money sinks, and we've divided them into a couple of categories. What's the first category, Matt?
The Pimp My PC.
Yes. So these are things that you could spend or give out as rewards to upgrade a character. Stuff includes, obviously, buying magic items.
Sure. Custom magic items.
We happen to have several episodes on those.
Indeed. Or just sitting down with your players and developing an idea, balancing it between yourselves, and coming up with an item that is for those characters.
Yeah. One of our characters in a previous game was a Tabaxi monk, wanted some magical claws.
Sure.
Guess what don't exist in the DMG? Magical claws. Guess what we had at the end of that session?
Magical claws.
There you go. Very simple. Very easy way to do it. What else could we have, Matt?
This one is important to me. I feel like every time you're reading a novel and you read a description of someone, one of the first things they describe is the clothing of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Get your characters some custom clothing.
Yeah.
Make the levels of society react to how the players are dressed. If you are dressed in beat up armor and crap like that, and you're at a noble's house, they're going to make you come around the back, right? You are not fancy enough.
But if you
to
come
be
in,
here.
you come in wearing a dragon.
Sure.
that you recently slain. You took it to like an epic leather worker and said, "Here, take this dragon and make me a suit of armor out of it. I want the head to be the chest piece."
Sure.
Maybe it was a small dragon.
Or you drop, the sorcerer drops 500 gold on the nicest robes, whatever nice. Like they're silk with silver stitching.
Oh, yeah.
Gold
They got some
trim.
inlaid runes
Yeah.
on
Oh,
them and
yeah.
stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they will invest that money if you make it socially advantageous for them to spend that money.
I would even say give them a little bonus.
Sure.
As a storyteller, right? Be a DM, go in there. Oh, man, they're rocking their good threads. Make it look good, right?
Yep.
Give them a bonus to persuasion or whatnot. In addition to that, you can have them buy spell books or spells, scrolls.
Let them spend money researching custom spells.
Custom spells are an excellent way to mitigate the vast piles of treasure that they have accumulated, particularly if you're a wizard. Again, it's expensive.
Something else you can do is you can have them meet wizards in various places that have custom unique spells to those wizards.
So if you're a sorcerer or a warlock, maybe they meet a warlock or sorcerer that has these unique spells and pass that knowledge on to them through dark pacts.
Sure.
Or maybe even if you're some kind of like arcane sorcerer, just literally transferring it from one brain to the next.
Yeah. But like if you're talking about wizards, though, I can shop around for Fireball, right? Basically, everybody's got it.
But a green acid ball that converts into worms that burrow into your body.
Yeah, there's not a lot of those laying around.
Yeah.
Only the guy who animated the Undead Miller has that spell.
Yeah.
And he can charge what he wants for it because if you want it, he's the only one that can get it to you.
You want the acid worm spell? Go talk to the Necro Miller.
Yep.
That's what I'm calling him, the Necro Miller.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's only one source for a thing, then they can charge what they can get away with.
You know what else is great? Better materials for weapons and armor or anything.
Yes.
And I must say this, it doesn't have to be magical.
right.
Adamantine is not magical.
Nope. Mithril.
Mithril is not magical. Bronzewood is not magical. We've got a whole episode, again, on magical materials, but we also have all kinds of other materials out of just the DMG that you could use.
Sure. You can also, speaking of things that aren't necessarily magical, poisons, alchemical items, mundane devices, all of those things you can spend money on.
Yeah.
And I would say for non-magical characters, you could spend money researching ways to better those non-magical things.
Oh, yeah. So it could be made out of adamantine, or it could be made of some kind of different material. Here's the thing. All right, your clothes look great, right? You have a sword. Maybe you don't have a magic sword. If you're a fighter, you don't have one weapon, first off.
Right.
Now, you might have all magical weapons, and that's great if you're balling like that, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're only 6th level, 7th level, right?
Sure.
And you've only got one magic weapon or two. Well, the rest of your weapons should be at least be shiny.
Right.
You got to have at least one silver weapon because you never know when werewolves appear.
Right.
Got to kill those werewolves.
I'm going to need an adamantine hammer for door opening.
Sure, yeah. And if you get locked up, pick the lock with that.
Sure.
So there's a lot of different things you can have.
Pick the lock.
Yeah, I mean, it is
With
what
a
it
hammer.
is.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, poisons and alchemical items are expensive. Okay, cool. Let them spend money on that. Pimping your character out is easy to do if you do it creatively.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you've exhausted all of those options.
They are dressed as nicely as they can be. They already have custom spells and items and custom alchemical nunas.
They've got too much wealth. What can I do?
Buy some land.
Yeah, buy some land. Property. You could buy a wilderness plot. You could even buy a whole town.
Sure. This could be its own side quest if you want it to be.
Yeah, and that's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
Could also have them earn land deeds instead of getting cash. This is a great way to manage character wealth again without giving them any gold.
Sure.
You help the king. Here's a good example, right?
Yeah.
I know you. This is where I know I could see it on your face. This is where you were going. You help the king. King isn't go give you gold. He's got to fund an army.
Right.
It's like, I'm not giving these guys gold. You know what I do have? I've got a lot of land that I'm not using. It happens to have monsters on it too.
Sure.
It's like, if the characters die.
Congratulations. You are now the Knights of Umbridge. Your land is over here.
Where the monster-infested realm lies.
Exactly.
You're going to help me two ways. You're either going to die, and I don't have to pay you anything else, and then I can give the land to somebody else.
Sure.
Or B, you're going to kill all the monsters in the area and put your base there, so I don't have any more monsters.
Civilize the location, yeah.
Yeah. It's a win-win scenario for everybody. And the characters love it because they get to kill some monsters, and they might have a base.
And they get a title out of it.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're the Knights of Umbridge.
Speaking of getting a base, Matt, what else could we give our characters?
Fortresses or lairs.
We have a whole episode on both of these.
It's true.
We have one on fortresses and one on lairs.
Yeah.
Go check them out.
Some players love having a base of operations.
I have rarely played a game where they have not just been over the moon to build a base.
There are occasionally people who don't care, but they tend to be excited that their friends are excited.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they're just like, yeah, man, do whatever. Like, it doesn't matter to me, but they're happy to be like, oh, cool. So we've got a drawbridge. We got for them, it's an experience finding out what their friends have developed.
Yeah. Again, these bases can be upgraded. You can enhance them with different materials. This is a great way to give them money without giving them money. Or if they've got a lot of money, they can spend all of that money and go back to being broke adventurers.
Yep. And the other thing is all of keeps and properties, lairs, they all require upkeep.
Yes.
Who are you paying to do that?
Yeah. Or are you going to do it yourself? It's going to cost you in materials, my friend.
And time.
Absolutely.
Because anytime you're doing upkeep is time you're not out adventuring.
And when you're out adventuring, you got to get places, which leads us to our third option to spend character wealth: travel or magical vehicles.
Yep.
Again, got another episode on this. This seems to be a reoccurring thing, Matt. We've got episodes on most of these.
That's because we have a lot of episodes.
Yes. Again, this could be I'm paying for teleport spells.
Sure.
Which is an easy thing to do. Or it could be I literally am buying a flying boat.
Sure.
And why wouldn't you buy a flying boat?
Or something in between, right? Like a car, right? If you've got an animated carriage, let's be honest.
It's a car.
It's a car.
Yeah. This can also be a fun side quest, either getting a vehicle or maybe even acquiring it or stealing it from somebody. That's
Sure.
always a lot of fun. That's technically a reward without giving them any cash, giving them the opportunity to go and grab somebody else's.
You've got some sky pirates, and the players are just like, I could use a sky boat.
Let's reverse mug these guys.
Exactly. And then you've got a place to put NPCs and stuff like that your players can interact with and have a common set of things.
When you're dealing with NPCs, that leads us to the next category.
It does indeed. You got to purchase services, or you've got to pay people for servants and workers and what have you.
Yeah.
Crewmen for your flying ship.
People to run your mansion that you've just built.
Sure.
We've got resurrections. Hey, character's going to die. How do you bring him back to life? Or if you're playing like a Shadowrun game or something, how do you get them to brought back to life to become a cyber zombie?
If your cleric dies or your druid dies, you got to pay somebody to bring them back, because they're the people that would bring back everybody else.
Mm-hmm. A lot of characters buy a bar. Got to have somebody to run that, right?
Sure. I mean, how can you not want a bar as an adventurer? Like, I feel like that's something that every adventuring group should have.
Maybe you're more story-minded
Mhm.
as a DM, and you want your characters to purchase things to further the storyline. Well, one good way to do so is for them to purchase information or informants,
Yes.
spies even.
I appreciate when players are willing to spend resources on information that is not just like, oh, how do I get through the maze of madness, right? But does the Count have any dirty little secrets? Right? Like things that pertain to the story, not just roles.
Yeah, not just to the quests and stuff.
Right.
Information is valuable, and if you're digging down into a dungeon, you're going to want to consult some kind of dusty old sage to learn about stuff. You might want to consult some adventurers who failed
Right.
and survived.
Sure.
Or maybe you can pay a necromancer to, again, talk
Speak
to
or
to talk to the ones that failed and didn't survive. That might actually be even more useful.
Just bring back a bunch of skulls from the entrance. Hey, what has this guy got to say?
Yeah. What is he telling you? That's going to cost money, right?
Sure.
Information is very important. And finally, you could have what?
Minions.
Got to have some minions.
I love minions.
Yeah. Got to pay them.
Yep.
Got to either pay them in magic items. You could pay them in other stuff too, which is totally acceptable.
Yeah. We believe in barter.
They should also have that as well.
You can have apprentices.
Oh, yeah. Have an apprentice.
Yeah. You're paying them in information, but in the meantime, you've got to feed them, put a roof over their head, and all of that good stuff.
And this stuff is great for like out-of-game activities as well. So you've got to
Mhm.
put your minions. They're doing their own reconnaissance or they're doing their own jobs. It's also generating stuff for you as your character or your party.
And if anybody in your game is ever missing and you want to run a little side game, then you have a minion game.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun to run as well.
Yep.
You could also become a patron. This is a great way to spend wealth as well.
Yes.
We kind of mentioned this in our question of the week.
You can fund a guild or a school. You can help out orphanages, whatever.
And this is, by the way, great for like fame or infamy.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a certain place, people might hate you. If you buy a certain place, people might love you. Could open up an art museum or buy some art.
All of these art pieces that you've been getting from dragons and other places,
Could go to the museum.
you could actually open a museum and put them in. That takes that money for the art objects out of circulation. But B, it gives you a place to showcase your wealth without being uppity about it.
It's good for influence.
Yep.
You can also adopt a cause or a place.
Yes. There will occasionally be times when you have groups of players who reach some podunk town and for some reason they fall in love with like 5 out of 6 NPCs in the town. All of a sudden, this is their town, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to touch this town. Nobody's going to say boo about
That-
this town. This is
First kobold that comes running into town with a blade in his hand is
Just-
dead.
evaporates, right? That kobold never had a chance and
There's just
doesn't know what
There's
happened.
just a pothole right there.
With like one cartoon curl of smoke.
Mm-hmm. Dragons just burst asunder out of the sky. And so adopting that place to call, that might cost money. Hey, it's real easy. Oh, the characters are way too wealthy for your game and things are starting to get a little unbalanced. Well, that wonderful town that the characters have adopted, oh, it would be great, but the blight's killing off people. They got to spend some money to research the cure, or maybe a dragon attacked.
That's what I was going to say. While they were away,
burned all the villages down. They got to spend some money to help build that back.
Yep.
And kill that dragon.
So yeah, you can always lessen their money, but it's more fun, more efficient for everybody to just keep the money in constant circulation.
Giving them something fun to spend it on aside from just, because at some point they're going to have all the weapons and armor and it's just going to collect. Give them something to do with it.
Yeah.
Another thing you could do is go into politics.
Sure.
It's a role-playing game, right? Let's do some role-playing, some intrigue. What kind of stuff can we do in politics?
Depending on how your governments are set up, you can just straight up purchase a title or pay your way into political power.
Sure. If you're an adventurer, again, you've got the nice robes. You've got the milling necromancer behind you with a couple of skeletons holding the trail from your robes.
Sure.
You roll in, your paladins in gleaming armor, and you say to the king, I'd like to become a noble. And you just flash a giant mimic full of treasure at the king's face. The king's going to be like, I'd like you to become a noble as well.
I need to pay this army.
I've got an army to. I got to do, man. I gotta pay these armies. They got to feed themselves.
Yep. The other thing you can do is, like, if you've already been gifted your little plot of land, right? You talk to the nobles around you, and you're like, "Hey, here's 10,000 gold. Let's move that goalpost 5 miles your direction, so I've got a little more land that way, or 5 miles this direction. I got." Right? Expand, like literally expand your influence.
Yeah. You could buy all kinds of influence too. It doesn't have to necessarily be titles. It could literally be, I am in a particular town. There's a merchant's guild. I need to influence one particular merchant so that I can do something in my quest.
Yep.
You slip them a little envelope filled with heavy gold coins.
Sure.
Next thing you know, part of the legwork is done.
Yep. That includes like buying into information systems, but you can buy influence at any level of society.
You can influence information. So news and media and so forth. Maybe they've got a crier that you pay off, or maybe they even have like a paper or something like that.
Sure. Or like in Shadowrun, like literally you could influence the news and the media.
Yep. And of course, if you're high enough and you've got enough money, you can start a war.
Sure.
Or pay for amassing an army.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're a local warlord adventurer and you've already killed everything else off, it's time to take over the world, right?
Sure.
Mercenaries are expensive. Specialty troops are expensive. Honestly, just average grunts with a donkey are expensive.
They still need food. The donkey needs food. They need equipment, training, whatever.
It's a good money sink.
Yep.
What are some other money sinks, Matt?
Events.
What are we talking about when we say events?
We touched on this a little bit. Things like there's a plague. We need to rush to find a cure. You've got to spend money with alchemists, money with priests, money with everybody. Or you could have a scarcity event like that war, right? Now, most of the food is going to the war effort, or you've got fields that are being destroyed or farming villages that are being overrun.
Yep.
And there's not enough food to go around.
These tend to be a little bit more heavy-handed than I would say the rest of the stuff, because the characters would actively pursue the former stuff that we talked about, and this is more of like, this kind of takes wealth out of the character's hands pretty quickly. But
it does, but I also like the fact that you can lead up to these events.
Oh, so like a consequence of actions thing.
Or like there are tensions on the border. This skirmish has occurred. This skirmish has occurred, right? If the players don't do something to influence what is happening,
it's going to hurt their pockets.
Yeah.
And that's going to piss the players off. They might be involved in this war now.
Or they ignored that necromancer miller, and turns out that all of the bread was tainted and there's a plague because of it.
A bunch of plague zombies walking around.
Sure.
Just shuffling.
Grains.
Yeah, he wants some grains. How ridiculous. It's awesome. Other ways that could be potential money sinks for characters include thieves.
Sure.
They could just straight up steal your stuff.
Yeah. No,
don't do this all the time, DMs, please.
Every once in a while.
Every now and then, if they're rolling in, hey, look, if they're dressed to the nines,
and just throwing cash around,
just straight balling, making it rain, then obviously you're going to have a couple of thieves that maybe aren't the brightest bulbs in the pack.
they feel like it's worth the risk.
I might get vaporized and turn into a pothole like that kobold with the dagger, but still.
Or I could hit the lottery.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's literally the ends of the spectrum right there.
Could roll a natural 20.
Mm-hmm.
And it might get some cash. And then finally, one of the ultimate ways to get rid of money character loot.
Yep, completely inescapable.
Taxes. Just like death. You
Yep.
can escape death in a
D&D.
fantasy campaign, but not necessarily taxes.
Yeah. I could just imagine an inevitable.
As a tax
As
collector,
a tax collector.
oh my God, the inevitable tax collector. That is 100% going to happen in my campaigns from this point forward.
You're welcome, folks.
He's going to, yeah, the characters are just balling. They've raided 3 dragon hordes. They're just spending money like crazy, and then they get a knock at their lair. And it's
They broke the planner tax bracket.
Yeah.
And now they owe taxes.
They owe taxes. You got to pay. That's how it works. So there you have it. A couple of options that you can use to kind of mitigate character wealth and honestly make characters more involved in the stuff that they get. This is a great way to reward characters. Again, we're not trying to penalize them. We're trying to give them ways they can spend gold on really cool stuff.
Or alternate payments than gold.
Any questions or comments, hit us up at Goblin's Corner on Twitter and all the socials. Did you enjoy this podcast? We've got a gold purse worth more. Subscribe to it on your favorite player, YouTube and Twitch.
You can also click the 5 stars and give us a review on iTunes and Podchaser. And on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps get our show in front of more people, and it feeds the hungry algorithm.
Which is currently stomping towards you with a metallic chink in its metallic legs as it raises a metallic hand and says, "You owe 50,000 gold pieces in back taxes, adventurer." I can't get that middle picture out of my head.
PRS, the Planner Revenue Service.
Oh, God, that's awesome. That's all the time we have for tonight. Once again, my name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time.
Good night, folks.
The Goblin's Corner is written and produced by Eric Holden.
And Matt Staples.
Show song by the mighty D20.
This is a Subterranean production.
Basie.